and this is our Health Medical PLC webinar. Today's topic is NOCTI Know-How, and we are happy to have you with us. I do think that we may have some folks joining us from some of the other PLC groups. We extended an invitation to everyone because we've had some cancellations and changes to our schedule because of snow-related school closings and whatnot. So we might have somewhat of a mixed group today, but that's great. We're happy to have everyone with us. And actually, if I could just ask, if you're logged on today and you are not part of the Health and Medical PLC, could you please raise your hand, click on the hand icon in your control panel, just so we can see who we might have in our audience today. Raise your hand if you're not part of the Health Medical PLC. Okay, thank you. I see just a couple folks who are with us, and that's great. We're happy to have you, as I said. One other note, if you are sharing a connection with a colleague, so if there's more than one person logged on sitting together, could you please type a note into the question box with all of your names so we can make sure that everyone gets credit for their participation today. And we do have everyone muted at the moment. That's just to minimize background noise. But if you have questions or comments throughout our session today, we encourage you to raise your hand or type those into the question box. I will be monitoring those, as well as my colleague Kathy Schick, who's also online with us today. So we'll be responding to those and sharing those with our presenters as we go. Just a couple quick housekeeping type notes before we get into our presentation today. We had sent out a note and actually a survey link related to the upcoming PACTech session, which will be taking place towards the end of June this year. This will be, we will be hosting a PLC breakout session at that conference, and that will be our final meeting of the PLCs, our final in-person meeting of this year's PLCs. There was some confusion. I guess there was a date that was circulated in a location of 7 Springs for the PLCs. That information, unfortunately, is incorrect. That is from last year. So that meeting will not be held in 7 Springs. We will be meeting in Lancaster at the PACTech conference. And if you haven't had a chance to respond to the survey, please take a minute to do that this afternoon or tomorrow morning. We just want to get your input about what type of topics or information you'd like to hear more about or talk more about at the PACTech session. We hope to see you all there. So today's session, as I mentioned, is focusing on NOCTI Know-How, and we're very fortunate to have 2 guest presenters with us today. I'll tell you a little bit about each of them when they are doing their respective presentations. But just to give you a quick introduction, we have Michelle Bonser from Monroe CTI and Darla Gettle from Lebanon County CTC. And they will both be sharing information and resources with us related to NOCTI. So welcome. To start with, I just will reflect back to you some of the feedback that we received when we sent out our request for input related to NOCTI. These are some of the challenges that we heard related to helping students succeed on the NOCTI exam. And this is a compilation of input from your PLC group as well as the others, because as you can imagine, there were some common themes running throughout all the groups. So I'll give you a moment to look at that, and then I'll ask our presenters if they have any comments. Darla or Michelle, are there any items on there that you'd like to comment on?
Go ahead, Michelle. I'll follow up.
Okay. All right. This is Michelle. One of the things that we've been working really hard at MCTI about is making sure that students are more comfortable with the test. And the presentation that I'm going to give is going to give some ideas about how to do that. We also broke the test down into 2 parts for all the students, or almost all the students. Darla?
Yes, that's one thing I can comment on here too. At Lebanon, we break the test down. As the site coordinator here at Lebanon, your site coordinators at your schools are able to break the test into 1, 2, or 3 session times, and we have done that here. Our full day senior-only students take the test in 2 different sessions, and our half-day seniors take the test over a course of 3 days. The other thing, one of the notes was that there's no incentive for students because it's not a graduation requirement. This year we implemented having the NOCTI test count as a final exam grade, which is 10% of the student's overall grade in their CTE program. So we will see this year, if that maybe has a little more incentive or creates a little more motivation on the student's part to be successful on the NOCTI exam.
Great, thank you. And some of the other items that are on here I believe will be addressed through our presentations today. And we also encourage you to connect with each other in the group to continue the conversation following our session, because I think many of you might have tips or strategies to share with each other. So with that, I'll go ahead and turn over our presentation to our first guest presenter. This is Michelle Bonser, and I'll tell you a little bit about her. She is an instructor at Monroe Career and Technical Institute. She's been there for the last 17 years, and she has taught applied math and Algebra 1 as part of their 9th grade program, and anatomy and physiology, as well as medical math for the health program. And she currently works with program instructors on the integration of math into their curriculum and providing professional development to improve student achievement. So we're very fortunate to have her with us today, and I'm going to go ahead and turn over the presentation control to you, Michelle.
Okay.
And it's all yours. Thank you.
There we go. Let me get this started. Come on. Come on, there we go. All right. Hello, and thank you, Jennifer, for having me today at the webinar. It's been a pleasure to speak to the instructors, and this looks like fun too. One of the things I want to mention as I'm going through these NOCTI tips for the classroom is that here at MCTI, we had a goal in mind to have a collaboration between the administration, coaches, teachers, and students so that we could increase our NOCTI scores. We were very firm and adamant in that goal, and we did a good job over the last several years. One of the things that we started with was looking at the NOCTI data. What do we know about NOCTI testing at our school? We looked at pre-test and post-test results. We sat down individually with teachers, the coaches. There are 2 coaches here, myself in mathematics and an English language arts coach, to discuss the data that we got from NOCTI with our teachers on a one-to-one basis. We looked at our task link reports that we've gotten over the number of years. This year we actually went through and used a data analysis technique that I got from Todd Luke at the Integrated Learning Conference in November. So we've actually used that right away with our teachers so that they could drill down through the data and see where the students have challenges and where we can celebrate what they know. We also get the integrated academic score reports so we can look at the mathematics and the English language arts and the science that are inherent in the NOCTI tests so that we can help our teachers improve that. So we gathered data and started looking at why our students were getting what they got on the NOCTI and how we could make a change for that. One of the things that we did know that we had to start to prepare all our students for the NOCTI test, not just our seniors, but students from the moment that they walked in the building. We take our seniors before they have the test and we show them the NOCTI test site. We go through a demonstration of what the questions look like, how to use the tools that are on the site, the calculator, the enlarging diagrams, the summary, the marking of questions. We use that and talk about test-taking tips so that the students are more familiar with this type of test on this web-based process. We also have our teachers incorporating the data that they get from their analysis into new instructional strategies that they do in their NOCTI preparation plan. All the teachers are required to do a NOCTI prep plan, how they're going to improve their NOCTI scores from the pre-test to the post-test, and how they're going to help the students with the challenges that they faced. Here are some slides on the NOCTI test-taking tips that I've recently put together for our teachers. There's a lot of information on here, and I know that Jennifer has a copy for you, so don't worry about trying to get all this information. It's coming to you in a much easier form. But you get the idea of talking to students about their test-taking procedures and what they're doing when they're actually taking a test. We also have some information about multiple choice questions. They're easy if you know what the answer is. It's a little harder when you have to pick one of those ones that doesn't quite seem to fit. So some examples and help in how to choose one when you're not quite sure. All right, that's those two slides. Like I said again, you're going to be getting that information. One of the things that we are focusing on here at MCTI is integrated mathematics. 2 years ago, and this is our third year of doing that, we instituted something called Math Problem of the Day. We chose a focus topic for the month, and I provide the teachers with a PowerPoint and a Word document that has a math problem for every day. Now these are, for the most part, word problems that are generally for any student, not necessarily just health students or welding students or someone else. They can be done for any student. You can take that problem if you present it to your student and expand on it and see how it fits into your career and technical area if that's an option, or you can just do it for what it's worth and go forward. The problems I found all over the place, from job application tests to pre-tests for college or post-secondary work. Anything I could find a problem that I felt was an applicable problem for our students and they should know how to do it, I put it on there. So it's been a lot of fun. The teachers get a copy of the problems, and they also get a answer key to help them. The other thing we focused on was calculator use. We want to make sure that all our students know how to use the calculators appropriately and use them in whatever method is correct for their particular industry and whatever their teacher uses. So all the teachers now in our building have calculators that are available for students to use when they need them. And we all have similar calculators, so students are able to move from one calculator that they're using in the classroom to a calculator on the NOCTI and understand how that calculator is going to help them with those problems. And hopefully they're not skipping math problems on the NOCTI anymore. Here's an example of a math problem of the day. You can see that I have just December and March. The problems are word problems. They have some considerable text with them. They try to bring in additional rigor based on the Common Core Standards of Mathematical Practice to ask students to explain how they got their answers or how to check their solutions. All right. I'm telling you that these problems are available for you. If you want to take a look at them on our website, that's down at the bottom of the slide, monroecti.org. If you click on the Resources tab and then go to the Numeracy Resources, I list them month by month, and you can get both the PowerPoint and a Word document that has all these problems on it. If you feel you need the answer key, let me know, and I'll scan it and send it to you. All right? But I think it's a good idea for you to do them. Okay. Here's a picture of some of our students in the hotel lodging management. They're using calculators to do some of the math work there. Like I said, calculators are available all over. Another way that we're bringing mathematics into the classroom and really focusing on the mathematics that's appropriate for each program area is something I'm calling the essential math problems. This is new this year. What we want our teachers to do is create a list of problems that they believe are the most important for their students to know. They can take them from NOCTI, they can take them for certification tests, they can take them from anything, any source that they want, but they're the ones that they believe their students really need to know. We're asking them to consistently practice these problems so that the students become very good at them, provide timely feedback so that students can correct their errors, and also we believe that this is building numeracy with the students as part of the Common Core Standards of Math Practice. We're improving problem solving. We're using some direct instruction and also cooperative learning. So a variety of instructional practices to build numeracy and work with these essential problems. To tell you what an essential problem is according to my definition, it's a problem that exemplifies the math that the students must know how to do to be successful in the NOCTI, certification tests, or on the job. It isn't 20 problems or 50 problems. For the most part, I'm asking the teachers to keep the list short. If there are a lot problems, like 10 or more, then they should be thinking about dividing them up into levels and working on them level by level. They are truly problems, not just content areas. They're example problems that the students would actually see or similar types to those on one of their tests. And again, they can be from a variety of sources, so long as they're representative of what the student needs to know in mathematics. Here's an example. These two are from culinary. And in all honesty, even as a math teacher, I'm not even sure what the Hubbard formula is, but evidently a culinary student would know. And these are the kind of problems I'm looking for. These are actually could be even more rigorous with adding a little bit more of the Common Core Standards of Mathematical Practice information into them so that we could improve them. So we're just getting started with this, and I'm hopeful over the next year that we'll be able to create a problem list for every program area. Math problem of the day. Here we have some computer networking students doing that together, working as a pair. We also do English language arts. I have an English language arts colleague that is also a coach, and we work together to help improve student achievement. One of the content retention strategies that we were focusing on was vocabulary improvement. We determined the NOCTI was very full of vocabulary, both just general, everyday question vocabulary and, of course, industry or content-specific vocabulary. We suggested to the teachers that they create flashcards and word walls and provided the resources for them to do that so that they didn't have to use their own funds. We gave them ideas and we helped them to do that. We also we're focusing on something called note making, which is taking notes to help students retain the content. And I discovered at a PIC meeting, which is Pennsylvania coaches meeting, Dinah Zyke Foldables. If you've never seen Dinah Zyke, the website's listed. Please take a look at some of the information she has. The booklets that she has and the resources she has are very reasonable, and I found that our students that I've done them with in quite a few different program areas really enjoy making them. They're made out of construction paper or cardstock or just a stiffer paper, and they're a lot of fun for kids who are kinesthetic and tactile. They like being able to work with these foldables rather than just taking notes on a sheet of notebook paper. Here you see a picture of our law enforcement, or now called criminal justice students, doing a word wall with their terminology and practice for NOCTI. And here's a picture of some health occupation students using foldables with some content area in anatomy and physiology. So they're studying their foldables. Some of the other areas in ELA that we looked at were reading for comprehension and chunking of information. We also gave the teachers articles related to the trade area for interest reading, high interest reading, and vocabulary activities to do with their students. We also have this year a technology coach and are bringing in a lot more technology. We have encouraged the teachers to use technology for vocabulary practice, and I'll mention a couple of those things in a moment. We also are working with Collins Writing, which is from PLN in the PIC coaching network. Collins Writing seems to fit very well for CTE students and CTE teachers. It is a method of getting kids to write that, that everybody seems to be able to do. Here's some flashcard practice with a flashcard circle, kids in graphic arts that are working on some of their terminology. As I said before, we've got some new technology stuff coming. After several years of working towards that and thinking about the consequences, we are now allowing, at the instructor's discretion, students to use personal devices in the classroom, smartphones, their own tablets, for their work. They can download apps and use them in the classroom if they're appropriate. We also provide desktops in the classroom, and there are lots of laptops and Chromebook carts for our teachers to use in the classroom if they want to do a particular activity. Some web-based study information that we recently got from our technology coach is Quizlet. If you've never tried that, that's great for vocabulary and studying content. And also Socrative, which is another area where you can have students interactively answering questions and taking surveys during a lesson. One of the things that our technology coach suggested this year as far as NOCTI performance testing goes is to have students practice the NOCTI skill and use a camcorder to tape their performance, and then have them go over it on their own and look to see for their own errors or where they want to improve or what kinds of things they did wonderfully. So there are some technology ideas that we're bringing in over the last couple of years too. Here's an example of a computerized machine technology student. He's using his own cell phone, an app for a project in the classroom, in the laboratory area. One of the things that we asked our teachers to do was to make NOCTI review a regular part of their weekly instruction. We expect teachers to be reviewing for NOCTI in the 12th grade, the 11th grade, the 10th grade. Everybody, all levels, should be getting some NOCTI review. As coaches, we were able to go into the classroom and model cooperative group strategies to help teachers with content retention, so that kids could talk and work together. We also suggested that essential vocabulary was put all over the classroom, and the teachers really ran with that. And you can walk around our labs and our theory rooms, and there's words just about every place that you want to look, from the backs of the bathroom doors to inside student lockers. So they're constantly in their face. When we took the post-test after working for the first year on trying to improve student performance, we noticed that the kids seemed to be more focused during the test. They were using the calculator and trying the math problems. Whether or not they got them right, they were at least trying them and not skipping them or guessing. The students would come back on the second day more rested and ready to take part 2 compared to being kind of lackadaisical about it after they just finished the first 100 questions. They couldn't believe there was another 100 to do. Less test anxiety, and they actually know about the NOCTI and are interested in knowing their scores and want to see how they did and want to figure out how to improve, especially from the pre-NOCTI to the post-NOCTI. Okay, that's about it for me. I have here's my contact information. If you have a question, please feel free to contact me. I'll be happy to help you any way that I can. Thank you very much, Jennifer, for inviting me to come here today.
Great. Thank you, Michelle. Some really excellent ideas that you shared with us. I think some of those strategies folks may be familiar with, others maybe maybe new. So do our PLC members have any questions or comments related to the information you just heard? Perhaps you've tried one of those strategies in your classroom and want to share or have a question about something. Please raise your hand or type that into the question box. I don't see any at the moment. I am curious, though, to know from our PLC. Raise your hand. Click on the raise hand icon. So you can just take a quick straw poll. Let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, about five people. And how many of you would be interested in learning more about that and some of the other technology type applications and resources and how they might be applied in the classroom? Okay, great. I see quite a few hands raised. That's something that we're thinking about incorporating into our PLC breakout session at the PACTech conference. So just wanted to get some idea of the interest level on that. So that's great to see. Any other questions or comments? Looks like Denise has her hand raised. Denise, I'm going to try unmuting you so you can ask your question or give your comment. Are you there, Denise?
Hello.
Hi. Did you have a question or comment?
We did. We were just, Kim and I are here watching the webinar, and our question was about Quizlet. I actually had a student about a week ago, I think, that said, hey, you can do that with your phone, and, really not familiar. There's so much technology out there that we're not familiar with, but we were just interested in knowing more about the Quizlet and how that works.
Okay. Michelle, do you know enough to answer that, or perhaps
I've worked, yes. So I've worked with Quizlet. You can do it on computer or you can do it on your phone. There is an app that you can download if you have the proper smartphone that will download that. With Quizlet, you can either use quiz or information or vocabulary that someone else has put on there. You can look through that and see if it's applicable, or you can make up your own. It's very easy to use. It's quite simple, and the kids love it because they can sit on the bus and on their phone and be going through their words. All right, they can be doing their med terminology if you want.
Oh, that's great, because that's what we're working. We're really working hard with the kids on, their medical terminology.
Yep.
That's really hard, and the more that we have and they have access to, the better it is. They really seem to like that. And there's also another app that I was given. It's just called MedTerm. That really is very helpful for, you can do little quizzes and things like that. You can put words together. You can make words, out of the prefixes, the word roots, and the suffixes. And the kids really seem to like that too.
Good, good.
Denise, this is Jennifer. So what is your center's policy on students using their personal devices?
We have, it's at the teacher's discretion. They can have their personal device like in the cafeteria and before school, at the cafeteria at lunch, but in the classroom, they really have to, at the teacher's discretion, use their cell phones. But we do here. We were just going over the heart, the cardiovascular system, and I put a big heart in the middle of our skills lab floor. And I told the kids to bring their phones one day. They were going to have a test, and I asked them to go ahead and use their phones and videotape so that they could visualize how the blood flows through the heart, the different chambers and the valves and things like that. Because I know in the past when we went and walked through together as a class, the kids found it very helpful to do that. So I thought I would try it this year and see how effective it would be. Unfortunately, with the weather, it's been a little bit challenging to kind of keep the kids on top of their studying and things like that. But we're trying to use that. But we have to be careful what we do with the phones in here. But we do like to use them. Hey, look up a word or this kind of a thing. So from time to time we'll use it, but we don't use it on a regular basis.
Okay. Well, thank you for your comment, and glad to hear that you're trying out some of these new ideas.
Thank you.
Thanks. Anyone else? We had a question come in related to NOCTI judges, which we'll hold until we hear from Darla. But does anyone have any additional questions related to study techniques or any of the information that Michelle shared with us? All right. Well, thank you. And Michelle, you're welcome to stay with us for the rest of the session, or if you need to jump off and get on to something else, please feel free to do that. But thank you very much for talking with us today.
Thank you, Jennifer, for having me. Bye-bye.
Okay, great. Thanks. So with that, I will go ahead and change over the presentation control, I hope, to Darla. And while she's getting her screen set up, let me tell you a little bit about her. She's been working at the Lebanon County CTC for the past 20 years, and she began her career as the office technology instructor and then moved on to a school counselor position in 2005. And although her title is school counselor, she does a wide range of things there at the school. But her primary responsibilities are managing all aspects of the secondary student information system, as well as serving as the NOCTI site coordinator for the past 8 years. And as part of that role, she coordinates all their NOCTI assessment testing, including pre, post, and pilot testing. And she's very familiar with working and interpreting the NOCTI results data. So she's going to share with us some highlights of resources and information that is available through the NOCTI website, as well as answering questions related to NOCTI testing. So with that, I will turn over the microphone to Darla. Thank you for being with us today.
Hi, everyone. I currently have the NOCTI website on my screen. I'm assuming everyone can now see that. I was going to go through some resources on the Teacher's Corner and a few other areas, as well as the Pennsylvania Career and Tech website. I want to show you a few things there, and also share with you some information I presented at a faculty meeting with the instructors at our school back in January regarding NOCTI testing, that kind of overviews some of the concerns, maybe from a teacher's perspective, about the NOCTI test and administration of that test. So first of all, here's the NOCTI website, and I pointed out to the earlier PLC group this morning, they constantly rotate different new things here, make a statement, NOCTI banners and posters that you can now order. They have those for sale. That is new this year. There's some information on CTE month. There's information on the NOCTI pilot testing program, etc. So don't think the NOCTI website is just for your site coordinator. There may be things on this website that you may have an interest in as well. So log in once in a while and just check it out. But mainly I want to talk about the Teacher's Corner, which is over here, the yellow icon on the right. If you click on that, and many of you may have already done this, but when you click on that, you come to the welcome screen, and there is a way for you to sign up to get emails from NOCTI that are geared to teachers specifically. So all you need to do is click this envelope with the plus sign, click here to sign up, fill in the appropriate information, submit your information, and you will be in receipt of emails that may be of help to you from NOCTI to administer your NOCTI test. There's some other little things here. Here's a CTE month icon. They spotlight a teacher and rotate teachers through that. There's a video contest information, etc. on this website as well. Another thing I want to share, which, well, let's go to the teacher's role first of all. We'll click on, there's numerous tabs. You can see that, teacher's role, how do I, reports and tools, and hopefully all of you have been in here before. But if not, I wanted to make sure you understood that the areas are here for you. This is a big question. What is my role in performance testing? So when you click on that link, NOCTI gives you some specific information here. What I do want to point out, though, is there is another website that might be of help to you, and that is this website, careertechpa.org. And if you click or highlight programs and go down to student occupational competency testing, when you do that, numerous areas come up. I mean, this is predominantly for site coordinators, but under the Pennsylvania testing information, there is this document, a guide to student testing. Now, you'll notice it says 2012-13. They are in the process of revising this document. Well, actually, I assisted Penn State Greater Allegheny as well as another site coordinator in updating and making this document more user-friendly, so to speak. And it's going to be released probably in the next week. It's at PDE for approval. But I spoke to Lori Barnes from Penn State Greater Allegheny, and she thinks it will be ready probably next week. So it will be updated with a link to the 2013-14 guide to student testing. And what I'm going to share with you next are excerpts from the new 2013-14 guide to student testing that I shared with the instructors at our school. And I'm going to do that here. It's just in a Word document, but it kind of highlights some of the main things I think that you might have questions about regarding NOCTI testing and your role as an instructor at your school. And one of the main things from a site coordinator's perspective is, and also that we need to coordinate and collaborate with you, is making sure you are communicated to the security and accommodations, issues around security and accommodations. First of all, instructors are not able to observe the performance test. And this is my particular wording here. Instructors should be working in their offices without a direct view of the performance testing. That is the policy and procedures we follow here at Lebanon. I know that other schools require teachers to be in a conference room outside of their particular lab area because maybe they don't have an office to work in or something like that, where they are separated from the students. So that is one major thing, that you as the instructor should not be observing the performance test. For you, this one does definitely relate because we kind of messed up here in Lebanon, and at the recent NOCTI Site Coordinator Conference, it was made clear that students are not allowed to serve as patients or clients during performance testing. So I believe some of the medical assessments have jobs where they need to perform something on a person. Well, that should not be a student, specifically in your program area. I believe you are able to use a student like from welding or auto body, but at Lebanon we have a medical assisting, we have a health careers, we have a dental program, we have a sports therapy program where those students cannot be part of the assessment testing and serving as a patient or a client. I apologize if someone's knocking at my door. Let me just see who this is. One moment.
I understand. I need a phone number for one of your co-op kids.
Right now?
Yeah, where he's working.
Hi, everybody. This is Kathy. I'm on the line, too, and I'm taking attendance. So just make sure, some of you did already sign your name. If you're sharing a connection, I need both names so that everyone gets credit. I do have those that already did that. So I can see all your names, but if you didn't log in yourself, please add your name to the question box.
Okay, I'm back. I apologize. Okay. Students that are not taking NOCTI may not be present and observing the performance test. This also came out at the Site Coordinators Conference. Many of you probably have multi-level students in your class at the same time. Some of grade 12, some of grade 11, 10. Of course, grade 12 are taking the NOCTI assessment. Grades 11 and 10 are not. Those lower grade students who are not participating in NOCTI should not be observing the performance test. So you might want to make sure you coordinate with your site coordinator or administration to make other arrangements for those students during your performance testing dates. Also, instructors should not have access to any of the student or evaluator testing materials. Your site coordinator should have a check-in, check-out procedure to give all of the testing materials directly to your evaluators. They should not be giving those materials to you, and the evaluators should be taking them down to your classroom, distributing them to the students, etc. We had a question from another one of these webinars where an instructor asked about, facilitating moving kids from job 1 to job 2 to job 3, etc., on behalf of the evaluators. That is not an acceptable procedure per NOCTI. The students in their testing booklets have a score sheet that they rip out. That score sheet should be given to an evaluator after the student's name is put on it, and then the evaluators are responsible for coordinating moving students from one job to another and handing off the student score sheets from one evaluator to another as well.
Darla, can I jump in with a question?
Sure.
This is Kathy. I'm going to back up to talking about using students. This is from Anne Marie, and she would like to know, you had mentioned that you can use students as patients from other program areas. She would like to know, can you use the underclassmates? I would assume
No.
not, because they
No,
can't.
you may not. Not
Okay.
if they will be taking that particular NOCTI assessment the next year or the next year. If
so the
they're in
rule-
that program or they're, yes, no,
Okay.
not from their program area.
Okay, and
Does that answer the question?
it does. And when we get to the evaluators, we do have a question from Sherry about the evaluators. So yes, thank you. That's all we have for
Oh my cell phone's ringing, my other phone's ringing, people are knocking on my door. I'm so sorry.
Hey, it
Okay.
happens.
Oh, anyway, permissible evaluators. Here we go. This might be in reference to, I'm sorry, I don't remember the woman's name that asked the question, but down below here on my document, hold on, I can't get how to scroll this. There we go. Having issues. All right.
Should I tell you her question up front?
Yeah, if you want.
Okay, let's see if this is where you were headed. Sherry said, I would like to know if it's recommended to use the same judges for the skills as it is, for the skills part of NOCTI, or use different judges, and does this affect the outcome of the scores?
Does she mean to, like, the same evaluator to do all of job 1?
Let's ask her. Sherry, I'm going to unmute you. If you don't want to be unmuted, just say so. I'm sorry. Sherry, do you mind being unmuted?
Hi, Sherry.
No. Hi. Can you hear me?
We can.
Okay. I'm asking, I use the same judges, so there's a consistency from year to year. And I'm looking, is it recommended to do that approach, or should I look for different judges each year?
Oh, no, you can use the same evaluators each year. That's not a problem. In fact, I think I'd encourage that because there's some more consistency. However, you might want to throw in a new one or two each time just so that you keep a pool of people available to be, serving as evaluators for your performance test. I would suggest that. But there's no problem using the same people from year to year. I mean, it's hard enough to find evaluators that are willing to be there during the day and, do what you need them to do for no compensation, so I would, if they're willing, that would be great.
Okay. I also have another question, too, dealing with using students to allow, I understand the concept of not using the lower grade students as patients, but what happens if you have a group of students that are testing? Can you use a student who is testing as a patient for another student who is testing?
I would say no, because they would, due to being exposed to the job before they need to be exposed to the job, et cetera. But we can follow up with NOCTI on that, but I would think that NOCTI would say that that's not the best scenario.
I guess I don't understand, if you have a small group of students and you have to do some of the procedures on a live patient, it's hard to pull from other classes when
you could have an adult. I mean, you should have an
I have
adult.
enough trouble getting judges to come in here for a whole day to do testing. And I'm
Right.
sure other instructors are in the same boat, and that's a concern I have. So
Yeah,
when you
and
have
that's a
small
concern that
pool to
unfortunately
pull from-
I'm not PDE or BCTE to answer that question for you, but I would think that they would not be recommending that you use a student in the program to serve as the client or patient. But we can check on that with NOCTI, with Heidi Speed.
Okay, thank you.
Sure, absolutely. Something else to think about when you are picking your evaluators, here in the red, who can serve as evaluators, relatives, recently retired teachers, and recently graduated students should not be considered ideal candidates for performance evaluators, as their connection to the instructor or students could be questioned. So use caution when considering a retired teacher as an evaluator, because maybe they have a close working relationship with the teacher, or they know the former students, etc. So, and individuals with less than 1 year in the workforce should not be considered as well. And that is something I was not totally aware of here. I will admit to that. We had our auto body teacher's dad serving as an evaluator a few years back, and we've corrected that in the last few years now that we know. A sister-in-law to one of our health OC teachers was doing some serving as an evaluator. So those things are no longer acceptable. So I just want to make sure you're all on the same page in understanding who can serve as an evaluator. They do highly suggest having members from your occupational advisory committee serve as your evaluators, unless, of course, those OAC members are your relative or former teacher or former student by only 1 year. But OAC members are probably your best choice. Are there any questions on
Darla,
that?
I'm going to jump. There is, Darla. I'm going to jump in with a question from Lindsay. And I guess I'll add to her question by starting with, maybe you could clarify, are these new policies? Because she said we always send our students in pairs and they are used as patients for their partners, and there's never been a problem. So
yeah, I will admit that I think it's always been there. It just wasn't communicated very well, maybe, because I've been doing NOCTI site coordinator duties for many years, and I only became aware of this in the past year, I believe. So I don't think it's really new. Like I said, I just think it's being more clearly communicated now.
Do you think it's also being more clearly monitored in some way, or I mean?
I think NOCTI is trying, and the state are trying to crack down on security breaches and really doing some professional development with site coordinators to make sure they understand, this is an exam comparable to a Keystone exam, et cetera, and there are very stringent rules in administering those types of state assessment tests, so they're just trying to, I think, be in line with them.
So maybe this document should also be shared with your administrators, just to remind them that.
Yes, absolutely. I mean, we had a really good response to the NOCTI site coordinator training that happened back at, it was at Penn State. I don't know, maybe it was in November. You might want to ask your site coordinator if they attended, and encourage them to attend the next one if they have one next year. But definitely communicate to them about the new guide to student testing that's on the Career Tech PA website. And I put a link to that, by the way, on my document that I think Jennifer will share. Here is the link to that. And then I put little bullets to where you need to go to get to that guide to student testing. And it needs to be updated for 13-14. And like I said, it should be there probably in the next week or so.
Okay.
But
well,
yes, I think, administration needs to be aware of the,
right.
the security issues and things as to how all this testing is supposed to take place.
And I know this morning's webinar, there was quite a bit of discussion about the accommodations, and in light of time, I just want to...
Yes, I know. I just did the 220. So And moving on to accommodations must be made for performance testing as well as written testing. And I know that makes everyone cringe. I did talk to Lori Barnes after the webinar this morning because I wasn't quite sure how to answer some of those questions, and her stance, I guess, maybe that's not the right wording, but her response to that is that it's you need to coordinate the accommodations that are going to be done for performance testing with your administration and your person that's in charge of special population students to determine what and how accommodations are going to be made. Now, of course, in my document here, which we will share at the bottom, it does talk about the allowable accommodations. I'm trying to get there. Here we go. Each section, schools need to coordinate with their solicitor and disability coordinator to determine if any accommodations for testing are needed. The disability coordinator should determine if accommodations due to a disability or other issue is required. Students with IEPs must be included in the assessment process, as you can see there in red. Of course, written testing, text-to-speech is an allowable accommodation. Readers wouldn't maybe be allowed because the written testing is all online and the text-to-speech kind of covers that. Extended time, visual assistance, excuse me, I'm moving my mouse here too far, etc. So, and there are accommodations for English language learners, I believe, and there is a link that you could share with whoever is in charge of special population students at your school to review what accommodations are allowable. I believe last year our ELL students were allowed to use a word-to-word dictionary, but it had to be only a word-to-word dictionary. So, but at least this document has some of the things in it that you may need to be aware of. And when the entire guide comes out in the next week or so, and I'm sure Lori Barnes, when she posts that to the website, will send an email out to all the site coordinators that it is there. I would highly suggest instructors as well, print and take a look at that guide because it's a wealth of information as to who needs to test, why they need to, well, maybe not why, but who needs to test, and things like that. So.
And Darla, I do have another comment, and we should have expected this. The welding community this morning wasn't very impacted by the idea of not using students during testing.
Exactly.
Of course, the medical community uses their students.
They're the only test. I think I tried to review all of the blueprints and things, and I believe they're really the only test, at least that we give here at Lebanon, that this impacts. And honestly, yeah. I don't know what the health assisting, that the test, for the zip code that we offer, our health careers program, now they're taking the health assisting test instead of the nursing assisting test this year. FYI, for anyone out there that is in the 51.0899 zip code, I believe. I hope I'm not stating the wrong zip code and freaking anybody out. I apologize if I did that. Our 510899s used to take nurse assisting. Now, this year, the only allowable test is health assisting. So, and I don't know if I reviewed that test to see if they need a patient or not. I'm not quite sure at this point.
Well, I have a comment from my friend Donna at LCTI, and she said she utilizes family members as patients only, and says it works well with her situation because she has 57 students to test in one day.
I know. We have 50 students in our health careers program as well. It's crazy.
Yeah, and then 15, proctors. So
yeah. I would think if I were her, just to be on the safe side, I would run that by her site coordinator who can double check with NOCTI, et cetera. I don't want to speak on behalf of them. To me, it doesn't sound like they're evaluating the students, so I'm thinking that that would be an allowable procedure to follow, but I don't want to say that because I'm not the one that makes this final determination.
Right, and some of these have to be, and there's several more comments, so that part of that has to be the administrator's decision just to cover yourself as the instructor that you've gotten approval. Nanette asked if this webinar will be available. She said she's a new instructor, and she's very excited to have this information. Thank you for that comment. And yes, it will be available as an archive. which we'll get out to you. And then Lindsay said that 51.0899 does need patience.
Thank you, Lindsay.
And there's
I
another
thought
one
so.
backing that up.
Sorry.
And then health assisting, Donna says, does require patience for vital signs, height. Yeah, so you're getting some confirmation there. Thank you.
Thank
Henry,
you.
Lindsay,
They
Donna.
know their tests better than I know, all 25 that I give here. So
I'm sorry.
Yeah, so I think it is a conversation with your site coordinator and administration to determine how you want to proceed to, get the testing accomplished and remaining in the, requirements of NOCTI. So
here's another good question. I have a feeling you're going to say no because they could share that information with other seniors. But Lindsay says, I assume a first-year senior who is ineligible to take NOCTI is a good patient. Would that be, or would the fear be that they would tell their friends what they saw?
Yeah, I would think that anyone in that program could not be a patient. And I guess I'm questioning, too, is she a 3-year half-day program because she's saying it's a first-year senior who's not eligible? Can I just confirm what kind of delivery system they have there? Because if it's a 2-year half-day, they do need to take NOCTI, the NOCTI assessment, as a first-year senior, because they would be completing 50% or more of the program.
I wonder if Lindsay would mind if we would unmute her. Lindsay, Lindsay, can you hear us? Hi, Lindsay. Okay, I muted her. Too much background noise there. But Lindsay, if you heard that, oh, here she did. She said she wouldn't leave the room for the test, and we are a 3-year half-day.
Okay, so she would not have to test, but I do not think they would approve of a student who is in the program to be participating as a patient. That would be my thought, but she might want to double check with either Lori Barnes or Heidi Spies at NOCTI to confirm that, but I have a feeling they would say that is not the ideal situation and would not want to endorse that.
Thanks, Lindsay, for those questions. I think, yeah, she said thank you to you, too. I think we're caught up on our questions.
Okay.
This is Jennifer.
And I'm going to just zoom through. You can see that there are other tabs here on this website under the teacher resources or the teacher's corner. How do I, wait, let me get to my right page so I know what I want to talk about. How do I prepare my students for testing, the assessment blueprints, et cetera, and we can talk about, I want to talk about those real quickly in a minute. Under how do I interpret score reports, there is a score report quick view so that you can kind of share this with anyone who is interested in the score reports. You should be getting your score reports from from your site coordinator after your students have completed the assessment testing. We asked in the prior webinar, about the task level reports and making sure you are being given from your site coordinator. These are now free to you, the task level reports. And in fact, in this webinar, I wanted to show quickly what a task level report Excel spreadsheet looks like. You can see that this is the written test, basic nursing assisting skills, and then the task description is down much deeper, so you kind of know what the questions are about. You can read them. I'm sure these make more sense to you than they do to me. It tells you how many questions there are on the test regarding this particular topic. It tells you how many items Brittany, this particular student, got correct. It tells you how many, your entire group of students that tested, how many they on average got correct, 4.1 out of 5 for the students here at my school. And you can see that it goes down through, this is the basic nursing, then it goes to infection control, et cetera, okay? So just so you are aware that these are available, you want to ask your site coordinator to make sure they get them to you. I do a bunch of analysis on our scores, and you can see here, these are the areas of the written test. I actually break out our special pop students versus our regular ed students to see, if there's a difference in results based upon the category of student. As you can see, our special pop students do slightly worse in certain areas, etc. The performance test as well, the job vital signs, assemble the equipment, wash the hands, enter the room, identify self, identify client, explain procedures. So you can kind of tell exactly what the student's going to be rated on here by looking at the task level report. So hopefully you all get that. I don't want to belabor that point, but just want to make sure that you know that those are available because they are extremely helpful, I think, at an instructor level to make your students successful on the NOCTI exam. And then it's getting a little late here, so reports. There's a parent's guide to interpreting scores. That's a nice little flyer you could give to parents on parent orientation, new student orientation, whatever, so the parents can understand the importance of NOCTI to your program and to your students. So you could print that and have that available, a nice little resource there. Under tools, of course, I'm hoping everyone is familiar with the blueprints. You can, let's see, what test do we give? Health assisting. So you can click on the letter H, and here's the health assisting test for the 510899 zip code, which is the new one. And it basically goes through what's in your study guide. It tells you the written test is 3 hours. It has 163 questions. It will review, the components of the test. It gives you sample questions. The performance assessment is 1 hour and 10 minutes total. It has 4 jobs. It also tells you in here, what percentage of the test each job entails. You can see that they're pretty much all equal, around 20-some%, et cetera, except for transferring the patient from bed to wheelchair. So just to make sure that you know that the blueprint assessments, you do not need to wait for your site coordinator to give you that information. You can access them yourself. And going back, I'm just back through here. There are countdown kits that you can order if you have money in your budget or whatever to do so. The employer recognition is good to give to OAC members. It tells them a little bit more about the NOCTI assessment. There are some parent resources as well that you can utilize. But also I wanted to make sure you know about the teacher resources login before I sign off here. The teacher resources login, you need to get the password for this from your site coordinator. And you also need to get the site code if you don't know your site code. Some teachers do. But then after you have the password, and it changes every year, I believe, so you have to get the new password every year, you can log in, and this is the only place you can get these instructor prep packs, so which are very important to setting up your lab and getting it ready for your evaluators to come in and judge your performance test. So you want to make sure, and this goes through basically every job. It tells you how much time the student has for the job, how much of the test this job entails. It tells you what they need supply-wise, applying and removing personal protective equipment, I think, right? PPE, that's what that stands for. And it gives you everything you need to have ready for the day of the test for each job station in your lab. So that's a really, really, I think, important area of that teacher's resource login. Lost my train of thought where I'm at here. Anyway, well, we'll go back. But wanted to make sure that you know that those instructor prep packs have to be accessed under the teacher resources login. Under there, there's some other little documents that might be of use to you, letters to send to parents that are already done. You can kind of just format them the way you want or customize them, etc. So, and there's an evaluator PowerPoint to show to evaluators as to what their role is going to be on the day of the test. If you wanted to, shoot them the PowerPoint so that they have a clue before they come in, a little bit more about what the expectations are on them. So, that's it. If there's any other questions, I'd be glad to answer them.
Great. Thank you so much, Darla. Does anyone have any questions or comments that they would like to share?
Jen, could I ask a question of the group that's
Sure.
As we're finishing up? If this was the first webinar you attended with us, would you please type that, just put first timer? That would help me with the attendance. Thank you.
Okay. Let me just take a look. Nanette says this was wonderful, so we're happy to hear that the content today really really was useful to everyone. So I don't see any specific questions right now, Darla, so we'll let you get to your next commitment. We really appreciate you taking the time to meet with us today, and also a thank you to Michelle, who I think has signed off, but we are happy to have you with us and really appreciate the time that you put into preparing the information, so thank you.
You're welcome. Good luck to everybody on their NOCTI assessments.
Darla?
Take care.
Darla?
Yes.
There's just one last question.
Sure.
Maybe you could direct to the information rather than explain it. Great feedback from everyone, but William Henry asked, can you please explain again how to set up the room? Can you just direct him to where to find that?
Yeah, he wants to go on the NOCTI website. He wants to go to the teacher resources login over here. Are you still sharing my screen?
Yes,
I'm not sure.
Yes.
You want to go to the NOCTI website and the teacher's corner, and then choose the teacher resources login, and he has to get the password to log in from his site coordinator. And once he's in there, there is a link to the instructor prep packs. That's what he wants to look for, are the instructor prep packs.
Thank you.
Great.
And
you're welcome.
And to Esther, this is Kathy, not Jennifer, but I see your message, and I did note that you attended, even though you joined a little late. No worries. Thank you.
Okay. Well, thanks, Darla. I'm going to go ahead and take the presentation control back just to share a few wrap-up items with our PLC members, and hope you have a good rest of the afternoon.
Great. Thank you.
Thank you. So just a reminder to our PLC members that we will be sharing with you the various resources that were talked about today, the website address for the math problems of the day from Michelle at Monroe, also some test-taking tips, and also some sheets on innovative ideas that you can use to motivate students. Here's a couple examples. These were ideas that were collected by the team at Penn State Greater Allegheny. So just some creative thoughts on ways to innovate and motivate students to participate and do their best on the NOCTI. And a final note about your next webinar, which will be the last one for this year. This group will be meeting on Tuesday, April 8th in the morning, 9:30 to 10:45, and we will have Lisa Hughes, math coach from Reading-Muhlenberg, as our guest presenter on that session. And I believe that many of you have shared lessons and information with her, so we'll be looking forward to hearing back from her and the information that she'll be sharing. Are there any closing questions or comments from our group today? All right, I don't see any. So again, we appreciate your attention and your questions and comments today. I'm glad that we were able to have an interactive session and share good information with each other. So we'll look forward to meeting with you again in April. And if you have any feedback or questions for us, please feel free to reach out to Kathy or myself. In the meantime, we'll look forward to hearing from you. Thanks, everyone.